Hello.
Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Good, Rich. How are you?
I'm good. Canton's waiting for you.
I'm ready to get up there. I'm excited.
Yep, about 2 weeks for you only.
Yeah, not long at all.
Yep, I know. When we started our countdown clock on our website, we started it at day 100, and it's like it seems like every time I look at it, I can't believe how many days have clipped off. So just around the corner. All right,
Yeah.
we got a lot of veterans to the system that we use here, Tony. They'll raise their hands. I'll call on them, and I'll have somebody queued up behind them ready to go. So we'll roll through these questions pretty seamlessly. We're going to start off with Gene Burnett. Gene, are you ready to go? Get you unmuted, Gene.
Can you hear
There
me
we
now?
go. Yep, got you, Gene. You get us going here, and Alec, you'll be next.
Hi, Tony. Wipe the smile off your face.
Well, it didn't surprise me. You didn't figure out the mute button.
So I wanted to ask you, probably more so than most Hall of Fame inductees, you've patiently had to wait quite a while, 6 times as a finalist, not being selected. Could you talk about how hard that is, not on you, but on family and particularly, close relatives and what have you? Is it almost like you have to comfort them more than they comfort you when disappointment comes down?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, one of the great, things that I've been blessed with and so fortunate, I have so many great friends and such a close family, so that when anything happens, good or bad, they kind of go with you. They get excited when it's a good thing, and they get sad or disappointed with you when it doesn't go well. And, the Hall of Fame is a tough process, but it's rightfully so. And, being a finalist 6 straight years and before I got in, there were hard moments and there were moments of disappointment, because once you're a finalist and you're in that room, obviously you want to make it to the Hall of Fame. And so it was always a balance for me, because I respect the process, and what the Hall of Fame stands for. And the guys who made it when I didn't, they deserved it. They deserve to be there. Obviously, they're Hall of Famers. And, but naturally your family is going to be disappointed, and they're going to be sad, and they're going to be rooting for you. And so half the time I found myself being like a family counselor. I'm the one trying to get them, make sure it's okay. And hey, it'll be okay. Life goes on. It's part of the process. So yeah, but I think more than anything, the message it sent to me is how much people care about me and love me that are close to me. And I'm really fortunate for that.
As a follow-up to that, was the last rejection the toughest one because of your father's health circumstances? You just kind of, maybe weighs on you a little bit. Hey, maybe this might be, I don't know if he's going to be able to see the day that he wants.
Yeah, they're all definitely disappointing. Everyone, they're all different. From the first one where I had no expectation, so you get the call and it's not quite as bad, and then each year it gets a little bit worse when you don't make it. But I think definitely in 2021, when I got the phone call, it was a weird year anyways, because of COVID and all that my Angie and I had been through, and then my dad getting diagnosed with cancer in August. And when I got the phone call right before, the Super Bowl that year, that I didn't make it, it was pretty clear, unless something tremendous, a miracle happened, really. My dad probably wouldn't make it through the year. And so that was hard because he played such an important role in my life from the beginning in this whole journey. And he was one of the people in the room when I didn't find out all those years. And he was one of the people that was upset. And so I know he would have been just over the moon. And so selfishly for me, really more than anything, him not being here is hard. But I know that he's proud. He was proud of me. It doesn't take away the fact that he was there every step of the way during my journey. And but there'll be a small little void in Canton without him being there. But I know he's there in spirit, and I believe he's looking down from heaven, smiling, and proud of his oldest son making it to Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. Alec, and then JP.
Tony, what's doing? Alec Lace here of First Class Fatherhood. My whole show focuses on fatherhood and family life. I know it'll be an emotional time for you. not having your father there with you. Obviously, on the football field, your job is to protect your quarterback. Your job as a father to protect your family. Take me back to the beginning of your fatherhood journey. How did becoming a dad change your perspective on life? And what kind of advice did your dad give you right from the jump of being a dad?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who has kids knows that's a pretty amazing moment. When my first child, who was my oldest, my son, Andrew, was born, it changed everything. I mean, it just gives you a whole different perspective of how much you can love somebody and how you feel responsible. I'm not sure what was scarier when he was being born or the first day we had to take him home. And I'm thinking, you know, what are we actually supposed to do? Where's the nurses? Where's everyone to take care of the baby for us? And I think, you know, so it's been one of the probably the most awesome privilege of my life of being a dad, and one of the greatest responsibilities I have. And I don't know if my dad told me any one thing. I think he modeled it more than anything. He modeled from I was a little kid all through my journey, through sports, through academics, through life, relationships, of just being there and being that consistent presence, telling me things I didn't always want to hear, which is important. Kind of being that, you know, that guide and helping me traverse the tough ground and the hard decisions and just being there. And that was the model he gave. And that's what I've tried to do with my kids.
What was he like as a grandfather, Tony?
Oh, he was great. You know, I think he probably liked that better because he didn't have to do any of the real work. You know, he liked hanging with the kids. I think his favorite was the beach. You know, he had a beach place out in California, and his favorite moments were when all the grandkids would come out and he could go swimming with them and, you know, play paddleball and stuff on the beach. So that was when he was at his happiest.
Thanks, Alec. JP and then Barry Wilner.
Hey, Tony, how difficult is it to write the speech? And then we got a press release today saying each speech is 6 minutes and they'll cue you out at 8 minutes. What have you done with your speech so far?
It's written. It's pretty much done. I got some edits to do because it's over the 8-minute mark. There's no chance I'm going to do it within 6. And I'm praying and editing and working hard to try to get it under that 8, because the last thing I want is Rich coming on stage to come tackle me and tell me to get off. And so, yeah, it's it's difficult in 6 to 8 minutes to tell the story of how you got to a place like the Hall of Fame. And for me, the majority of the speech is talking about family and friends and the people that helped me get there. And so as I've gone through it, I'm not going to be able to call everyone out by name that I want to. There's just not enough time. And because I'm a firm believer that nobody gets to the end destination. No one reaches a goal by themselves. And I surely didn't. And there's so many people, coaches, friends, family, obviously my parents, that were such a big part of it, that trying to get them fit them all in is going to be hard.
Okay, we have Keegan Michael Key for entertainment, not Rich trying to tackle Tony Boselli. Let's 2 comedy acts. We are graced not by 1 or 2, but 3 Hall of Fame selectors on this call. And the first I'm going to call on is Barry Wilner, and then Jarrett, you'll be next.
Thanks, Rich. Tony, congratulations. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the difficulty of playing on the offensive line, particularly left tackle, the fact that offensive linemen just don't get a lot of glory, and even though they may deserve it. And what was some of the biggest challenges of becoming such a great left tackle?
I appreciate it, Barry. I think, first and foremost, especially back in the era I played, the best pass rusher was going to be that right defensive end 95% of the time. And, I went into the game knowing the guy I was playing against was a better athlete than I was. I mean, just those guys are so physically gifted. And at the same time, my expectation was to play perfect, because I knew, the uniqueness of of playing offensive line, especially if you look at the system we played in, where we didn't do a lot of slides. We didn't do, both Leon Searcy and I were asked to block 1-on-1 the whole game. I could play, if there were 70 plays in the game, I could have 69 that were perfect. But if I get beat on a key third down at a key moment of the game and give up a sack, or that leads to anything, negative play or a turnover, I had a bad game. And so it's like the direct opposite of the guy I'm playing against. All he needs to do is have a couple big splash plays and everyone's gonna be writing about him in the paper. For me, I can't have any negatives. And so I really approached the game, which honestly created a bunch of anxiety and fear of failure half the time. I mean, going into the game, I'm a nervous wreck every game I ever played, just because I had set that standard and I knew I needed to be perfect. And but with all that said, I think it's one of the best positions in all of sports because you're 100% dependent on everyone else on the field for success. I always said I could do my job perfectly and dominate the guy I'm playing, but if the other four guys on the offensive line, if we're not communicating, we're not doing our job, if the quarterback's not doing the right thing, if everyone else isn't doing it, it doesn't matter what I do. So I loved playing offensive line. It was maybe you don't get the notoriety you maybe some of the other positions do. It's hard to measure success because there's not like one stat. And unless you really watch the tape, you don't know who's good or not. But I loved being in the room with those guys in the locker room, in the meetings, and on the field. There's a real closeness to that group in football.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Jarrett Bell and then Justin Barney.
Thanks, Rich. Tony, congratulations, man. Obviously a great honor. I'm curious about a couple of things. I got a two-part question.
Yep.
Or two questions. But first of all, can you shed some light on what it was like being a finalist multiple times and then not to get selected? What is that like internally as someone who is walking that walk?
Well, Jared, I wanted to come tackle you and Barry every one of those years. It was hard because, the first year I had no real expectations. I was just happy to be the finalist, kind of like, a young team being happy just to be in the playoffs. But after that, and especially after I found out that I was top 10, not just, so I'm thinking if I'm top 10, 5 guys got in, I'm, man, at least I should be maybe the next 5. And I was top 10 every year and it just kept on going and going. And I knew the big thing, the elephant in the room was the length of my career. And that was the thing that was being debated back and forth. And so that was always hard because it was something I had no control over. And I also knew I played more games than other Hall of Famers. Not, obviously the minority of them. And my length of career is an issue. And I get it. I get the debate, but that was always hard for me. And then, you get to that moment when you're in the room and the way they used to do it, you're sitting there in the hotel and I had all my family and a bunch of friends around me and all of them are probably more nervous than I am. And then I'd get that phone call and then tears and crying. And I'm sitting there looking around going, it's bad enough. I just got a call that I'm not in the Hall of Fame. Can you guys all like cheer up? You're making me even more depressed. So, but it's part of the process. And a lot, Jared, a lot of people have talked about, oh, there has to be a better process. This is wrong. That's wrong. I disagree. It should be hard. Obviously, it's going to be subjective at some level, especially when you're talking about an offensive lineman because there's no real stats. But I always respected. I respected all the guys and gals in that room who were doing the voting. I respect the process, and I just said, hang in there, and hopefully it happens one day.
Tony, every year I leave that selection meeting and I'm mad because somebody I, promoted or argued for didn't get in, and you have your ranking. I think this one, that one. So it can be frustrating even for people in the room, but nothing like sitting in your shoes.
Yeah.
Second question: Bruce Smith made a social media statement a few weeks ago that he didn't really try to cast shade on you per se, but express some frustration with the process. How did you, process the remarks from Bruce and move on and put it in any kind of perspective for yourself?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I woke up, I was actually on the West Coast. And so I woke up and all my buddies on the East Coast texted me saying, did you see what's on social media? I'm like, I didn't even know what they're talking about. But, let me start with this. I have the utmost respect for Bruce Smith. We had some great battles. He is one of the, top 100 player, one of the greatest to ever play the game. And so I respect him. And I respect every guy who ever played the game. It's a tough game to play, and we battle against each other. And he was one of the greats of the game, but I've played against several greats. And Jared, the way I look at it, anyone who wants to go watch the tape can go watch what I did on the field. My play, I think, speaks for itself. You guys and your peers in the room debated it at length. And so I just, my first thought when I read it is I want to call Bruce. And so Bruce and I had a conversation. I'll keep that private. We had a good conversation. We're good. And I'm just going to move forward and looking forward to seeing him when I in Canton this year.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Tony. And yeah, congratulations again.
Thanks, Jared.
All right, Justin, and then Kyle Nash.
Hey, Tony, congratulations again. I'm wondering how much this means to the city of Jacksonville. If you've been able to take that in a little bit, you're the first guy in franchise history, the first pick. I mean, other franchises have guys in the Hall of Fame. Jacksonville's never had that. It's been you and to a lesser extent, Fred, that's kind of been carrying that torch. Have you felt that excitement, that support? And what do you think this means to the city of Jacksonville for you to be that first guy going in there?
Well, I mean, based on the response I've gotten from the fans and the people here and my neighbors and all the, living here in Jacksonville, I think it's a big deal and people are excited. And, the people in Jacksonville have been super supportive of me from the day I got here in 95. I always think back to that, Tom Coughlin, first draft ever, he decides to pick a left tackle. Probably not the most popular pick, as far as positions. But from day one, the city was excited. The fans have been excited. They've been in my corner the entire time. And I think getting into the Hall of Fame, obviously it's the highest individual honor you can get. But I've said all along, it's about, I'm bringing my family with me. I'm bringing every teammate, all the coaches I played for, guys I played with. And I'm also bringing the city of Jacksonville, the fans of the Jaguars. They have a special place in my heart. Like I said, they've always had my back. I've tried to have theirs, and I'm excited. And I think there'll be a lot of Jaguar fans in Canton that first weekend in August.
How excited are your boys to go up there? I know they've been disappointed in the past when it didn't happen, and totally ecstatic once you got in.
Yeah, my boys, all my kids, my 2 boys, 3 girls, they all like the gear, they like the hype, they like the parties, especially my older ones. So they're pumped. They're excited. It's cost me a little bit of money in clothes, though. My girls have taken advantage of me and saying, Dad, this is a reason for us to go buy a whole new wardrobe because we have to be in Canton for the week. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I have no say as usual. But they're all excited. It's been fun. It's been fun for all family.
Thank you, Justin. Kyle, and then Troy Geary.
Hey there, Tony. Good to see you again. It's interesting with you. You have the unique stance of being the first one for a franchise. You have the unique stance of being picked at a high point, being drafted by 2 different franchises. Obviously, you never took stabs for the Texans that would turn out, but I think that speaks volume to your unique vision on the game itself and how it can expand. So with that in mind, what do you think is the next big thing that the NFL should focus on in changing or expanding, whether it be the game or something in the Hall of Fame process? What do you think is the next big move that the league should be?
Well, I think the game's great. It's obviously changing. The focus on player safety, which is good. It's the right thing. You got to take the head out of the game. And I think always having focused on that is good. Now, I also think everyone has to realize you're never going to take the physicality and the violence out of football. It's part of the game, but let's make it as safe as possible and take care of guys while they're playing and after they get done playing in their careers. And so I commend the NFL and the Players Association for doing that. It's the right thing, but as far as the future of the game, my hope is that we continue, the NFL and the players continue to invest in youth football and youth in the younger kids, because that's where the fans, not all those guys obviously are going to play in the NFL. They might not play even in high school, but just, that was a big part of my journey, youth football and playing, and I fell in love with the game there. And so that, I think that has to continue to be a focus. It needs to be important. It needs to be something that we invest in. It's part of the game, whether it's the NFL, the Hall of Fame, or just any ex-player. And I'm excited about the expansion and what the NFL's done internationally. This is a great game, but it's still it's just it's predominantly in America, in the US. It's America's game. And having the opportunity to go overseas several times with the NFL Europe and the games in London, I've seen over the last several years part of the Jaguar organization, it grow, going to Germany this year, been in Mexico. I think that's good because the game I love, I think is the greatest game on planet Earth. And I want as many people as exposed to it as possible.
I mean, hey, if your Trojans can play in the Big Ten, why can't the NFL?
Well, yeah, I mean, the world's upside down. California is now part of the Big Ten country.
Thanks so much, Tony.
Yep.
Thanks, Kyle. Troy, and then George Jones.
Hi, Tony, Troy, Gary. How honored are you to become the first Jaguar into the Hall, and what has the city of Jacksonville meant to you?
Well, I mean, it's important. It's a huge honor, Troy. I mean, being the first pick ever, I took that as a real responsibility. Tom Coughlin, Wayne Weaver, and this organization trusted me in '95 to make me the first pick. I hope I lived up to that, and I tried to every day. I've taken being a part of this organization in the city post-career as a responsibility to represent the organization in the city the right way. And to be able to do that now as a Hall of Famer it's outstanding. It's a big deal to me. And I'm honored to be the first representative from the Jaguars in the Hall of Fame. It's humbling to be a part of the group of players that are in the Hall of Fame. And I will do my best to represent the Jaguars and the city of Jacksonville every day.
Thank you.
All right, George Jones, and then Quentin Congress.
George, I think you're on mute.
You hear me now, Tony?
What's up, George? Good seeing you, man.
All right, what's up? George Jones, Sideline Sports. So, Tony, we played together in 1998, 1999. I remember something in practice one day. You went toe-to-toe with Coach Coughlin one day about a blocking play that we were doing in practice that he thought you were doing wrong, but you actually were doing it right. And then I remember after practice, Coach Coughlin coming into the locker room and telling you, Tony, you were right about that play. My question to you is, I got two questions. How do you balance being an advocate for yourself and respecting your coaches? You have to be able to do both to be a great player.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, anyone who knows me, I don't always hold my tongue, and I'm not afraid to express my opinion, especially if I think something's right or wrong. And I think, all of us, I mean, George, you get to the NFL, you got to be a great competitor. I don't care if you're there for 1 year or, 20 years. You got to be willing to compete. You have to have a conviction of what you're doing. And I think there's a right way to do that, respectfully to a coach. Now, trust me, I didn't always do it right because I got heated, got emotional. Coaches get heated and emotional, say things they don't mean sometimes. And so you just do your best. You try to be respectful. And if you ever get out of line, which I had, I always made sure I was quick to go find that coach one-on-one in their office, apologize for being disrespectful, and then try to communicate again what I was trying to get across. So, hey, we're all human. We make mistakes. But if you have a strong conviction, you believe in something, and it's for the betterment of the team, I think it's, you got to say something. You got to give your input. Just make sure you do it the right way and do it in a respectful manner.
And my second question, Tony, is to young players who look up to you, who want to be offensive tackles one day in their life, what advice would you give them on how to try to achieve that path, not only in youth sports, high school, possibly college, and possibly the NFL?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to love football. You got to love ball. I think anyone who's been great at this game loves the game, not necessarily what the game can do for you, but what just the game itself. And then obviously it'll do great things for you if you have that opportunity. And I think for offensive lines, I always say it's a position about repetition. It's the little things, because you're blocking guys typically who are better athletes. I mean, these guys on defense are just amazing athletes. And so technique and doing the little things right. And so just, focus on your technique. You can never rep it enough. Do the little things, and there's no substitute for hard work. I mean, those are things, I learned those in the game of football. I learned those from my dad about hard work. Like, if you want to be successful in anything, you better work. Just, And nothing drove me more crazy about, guys just talking about what they're going to do, because that's not going to get you anywhere. It's about putting the time in, putting the effort in. And if you want to be different, don't do what everyone else is doing.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you allowing me to ask you a question. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud to be a brother. I'm proud to be a friend and a former teammate. And just like Fred and Keenan and all the rest of the guys, Jimmy and Mark, I know everybody's proud of you. And we will be watching you in August get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, George. All right, Quentin Congress and then Brendan Heffernan.
Hey, Tony, how you doing? Congratulations on your
Hey,
induction.
hey, Quentin, before you say anything, George, I'm sorry. I was thinking Greg Jones, the old fullback. George, sorry about that. I said Greg, not George.
Hey, Tony, how you
Hey,
doing?
Quentin.
Congratulations on your induction.
Thank you very much.
Okay, what were your memories of Tom Coughlin? And also, how instrumental was he in your development as a player as well as a person?
Well, I think George will tell you, it was always a love-hate relationship with Tom. He was a tough guy now. He was a tough guy to play for. He was a disciplinarian. He did not put up with anything and had a bunch of crazy rules that would drive you crazy. But there was a method to his madness. And I think the one thing you appreciated about playing for Tom, that you knew you'd be ready as a team. Like, come Sunday, we were going to be prepared, and there was going to be a toughness about us. There's going to, we were going to show up. We might at times not be the most talented. Maybe there's injuries, whatever, but we're going to be ready to play. And that's a big part of that was because of Tom Coughlin. And I appreciate about that. And I probably appreciated it the older I got. And even after I got done playing, you look back and you look at things that are tough moments or things that were said that maybe you didn't like because they were hard at the time. But they were true and they were good. They were good life lessons. And so I really respect Tom, and he's a great head coach. I believe Tom Coughlin should be in the Hall of Fame as a head coach in the NFL with what he did for the Jacksonville Jaguars and then winning 2 Super Bowls at the New York Giants. He's one of the truly all-time greats. I hope one day he can join me in Canton. And he's a guy that is a big part of my life. I'm in Jacksonville because of him. And I really respect him as a coach, and he's probably a better man than he is coach. What he does off the field in the community is pretty amazing.
All right, Tony, thank you so much and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin. Brendan Heffernan.
Hey, Tony, I'm one of the communications interns here at the Hall of Fame, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the work you've done with our archives and collections team, sort of on helping them tell the story of your career, and also what elements of your legacy are most important that we preserve here in Canton.
Yeah, Brandon, great question. I'm sure they probably hate me at this point because I was the last one to get stuff to them. We were in the midst of a move, so everything was in storage. So it was we were a little slow in getting that stuff. So I appreciate the Hall of Fame and the archives team and everything that group has done and the patience they had with me. So thank you first and foremost. And I sent them everything I could. I was actually out of town. My wife and oldest son did it. High school helmet and jersey and USC stuff and stuff from the Jaguars. I've never been big on any of that stuff, if I'm being really honest. I think it's cool. My kids love it. Fans love it. It's neat stuff. I think the biggest thing for me is preserving my legacy is what I did on the field. Because that's why I'm in the Hall of Fame. That's why any of us are on the Hall of Fame. It's the way we played the game. It's the way what each guy who's in that Hall of Fame did for the game, how they excelled. And that's really my legacy. And the fact that I was telling someone this today, the fact that, I'm gonna have a bronze bust in Canton for the rest of time. And that my grandkids and their kids, so my great grandkids and just down the line, are going to be able to visit Canton and say, hey, that was my great granddad, or that, and to be amongst those, all the great players who ever played the game, it's mind boggling to me. I literally can't, like, half the time I just sit there and have to pinch myself because I was the kid who grew up wanting to be those guys, and now to be alongside them is amazing. And that's really my legacy is what I did on the field.
Thank you,
Brendan. Thanks, Tony. And that was like a commercial for the Hall of Fame. That's our job, is to preserve those legacies. Tony is now one of 362 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he will deliver his enshrinement speech on Saturday, August 6th. And we appreciate all the great questions everyone asked today. And
Rich, we lost. There we go.
yeah. Hey, thanks everybody for great
Hey,
questions.
hey, Rich, can I,
Yep.
let me say something? I want to thank everyone for coming today. And I know we had to postpone last week. I had some things come up that were unavoidable. So thank you for your patience. And thanks for adjusting your schedule to fit me in today. I really do appreciate it. And it does not go without notice that the flexibility you guys had. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Tony, for finding a new time that worked for everybody. And we had a good turnout. We had great questions. We will see you in a couple of weeks in Canton.